Chef Daniella Malfitano. I'll take you from the crop to the kitchen to highlight the local farms, ranches, vineyards, orchards, markets, and more right in your backyard. Join me as I uncover the delicious discoveries of your culinary community.
Hello and welcome to Delicious Discoveries. I'm your host, Daniella Malfitano. There's no shortage of tasty tomatoes in the North State, but today we're here and going to learn about how to cook with tomatoes kissed by the sun. That's right, we're visiting Mooney Farms and we're inside their gorgeous facility right across the street from the Chico Airport. They've not only made a name for themselves locally, but worldwide. So let's go find out the secrets of their success. So here we are in the beautiful kitchen facility right here in Mooney Farms, and we're standing with Mary Mooney. Hello, Mary. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having us here. This is just a beautiful kitchen. I feel really, really honored to be here today. I can't wait to hear all about the wonderful products you have. But I'm interested to know, you really did keep this business within the family, is that right?
Absolutely.
And it all started with your mother.
Yes, it did. We had really come from Sonoma, and we wanted to be more farmer-oriented, so we went to a small town in Gridley and started a kiwi ranch. Well, unfortunately, during the hard times of the farming, the kiwi ranch just wasn't really making it. So I had to come home and help figure out a way to get rid of this kiwi to make the money to pay the mortgage. And in that entire process, Mom, being quite the pioneer, started making kiwi jam. And in our first year of business, we did $1 million in kiwi jam, which a lot of people don't know about this company is really the beginning was kiwi jam. But then as time went on, I said, you know, Mom, I need more to sell. And that's when we really started looking at our history and our favorite family recipes and really what California agriculture had to offer. And obviously tomatoes is a huge crop.
Huge crop.
So we decided to start making the sun-dried tomatoes. And in the beginning, we were on the roadside, you know, we went to farmers markets. Yeah. But after that, I decided to go to a place called Price Club. So I went in without any appointment, with just a jar and a spoon, you know, and this buyer came out and saw me, which is so exciting because during these times, buyers were looking for exciting opportunities. And he tried it, and he said, I don't know what it is, but I love it, and I'll take it. So we went home, and my sister and I hand-stuffed a pallet. It took us 3 days. We hand-poured the olive oil and hand-capped it, put it in this pickup truck. I delivered it. Well, I got a call the next week from the buyer, and he said, why didn't you deliver it? I said, oh, believe me, I did. I had to hand-stack the whole thing onto the loading dock. And he calls me back, he goes, you're our #1 item. You did $8,000 in 4 hours. Whoa. It's gone. I'll take another truckload. And he says, Mary, this time, we're not talking about a truck with 4 wheels. We're talking about a larger truck. And of course, it took us 3 days to make 1 pallet. I said, it'll take me a month. He says, well, then you better get going.
So you mentioned Sonoma earlier. Tell me about your trek from Sonoma to Chico and how you brought that Sonoma flavor back here.
Well, you know, growing up around all the beautiful vineyards, it was very Mediterranean. I thought the world looked like Sonoma. I thought everything was beautiful stone buildings and romance and wine, and this is what I grew up with. So when we came here, I really missed it. It's beautiful here, but I really wanted my life back. I wanted some of that back. So when we actually built this building, we brought back our Mediterranean roots and the olive trees out front and the lavender and the rosemary and all the things that really came from our childhood.
Mary, speaking of flavor, it's really all about timing when it comes to sun-dried tomatoes. So talk to me about the process and what goes into that.
It's really interesting because I think it's more than people realize. You know, you have to wait for the tomato season to begin, and they have to go to the dry yard.
We finally made it to the dry yard. We've been talking about this for quite some time, and I'm interested to know how you got to where you are today.
Well, we have to go back and introduce Rob Benich, because Rob Benich is the founder of this yard, and really the history of this yard goes back 100 years of farming excellence and drawing, which his family really inspired. And so now you're looking at the most sophisticated, technically advanced dry yard in the world. And it is a partnership of Mooney Farms and, of course, the Morningstar Tomato Company. which is the premier, largest processors of tomatoes in the world. So really what you have is this fantastic California tomato being brought here, specifically produced for this yard from the supplier Morningstar to this amazing yard, which then sun-dries them for Bella Sanlucci to be able to go into their premium brands and be sold around the world.
Well, as a chef and a food lover, I'm very excited to be here and see every step of the process. So let's get started.
Let's go.
All right. Rob, I'm curious to know what happens when those trucks roll in and bring in these beautiful tomatoes?
Well, they embark on a 40-step process to become dried tomatoes over about a 7-day period. The first step is where the trucks are unloaded, the tomatoes are washed, then they go through a sizing machine, then they move through the slicing machines, then onto trays. The trays are automatically stacked, and the stacks are put into a sulfur chamber for about 12 hours of processing. Then they're brought out to the dry yard, where it takes about 7 days to dry. Now these are some beautiful California sun-dried tomatoes.
Yeah.
Well, it was really worth the trip out here. Thank you so much for showing us around, Rob. This was really fun. I learned a lot.
My pleasure.
I can't wait to taste these delicious products now. Thanks so much.
Enjoy.
I'm really excited to try some of these wonderful products we have right in front of us. And I know it's way more than just a sun-dried tomato. The best part about your products is that there's a perfect blend of olive oil and some great spices. So were you using old family recipes? How did you come up with some of these wonderful blends?
Old family recipes. It's something from the Portuguese side. My father was half Irish and half Portuguese, but we tended to really eat the Portuguese style, which is Mediterranean, grilled meats, vegetables, lots of olive oil. And we do have an olive oil ranch because you can't have a Mediterranean family and you can't not have olive oil. And so really, it was a combination of Grandma's recipes and really the abundance of California produce. And we said, how can we bring this together? And so that's really, it was, I would say, a blend of both.
All right, well, what should we try first?
Well, what we started with, this is the original product.
Okay.
This is the Costco jar, and this is the sun-dried tomatoes halves, which is really traditional in the first jar there, and it's blended with olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, basil, oregano, garlic. You can smell the herbs and aroma. They're just sweet. California tomatoes are very sweet, unlike the ones from Italy are salted. These are a very sweet tasting tomato and very pliable. So this is the original, this is the half. As we went along, we realized consumers were looking for convenience. So we said, well, really, sun-dried tomato halves are a better appetizer, but what about all the salads and all the pizza toppings, and why don't we bring the convenience to the consumer? So that's when Julienne cut came along.
Yeah, that's great. I'm gonna dig right in if I can.
Absolutely.
Oh, these look so good. Just dripping with olive oil.
And you can drain those. And what I always tell customer service is make sure the customer knows that when you drain that sun-dried tomato, that's olive oil and it's seasoned. Don't throw it away. Save it and saute vegetables.
Absolutely, I always do. I always drain my sun-dried tomato oil out of the can and then use it for pasta sauce or anything really.
Yeah, absolutely.
And salad dressing is one of my favorite ways to use that.
Yes.
Those are so super sweet.
Thank you.
Very, very concentrated flavor.
Yeah, well, that's your California tomato.
Yum. And I read that you were featured in Women's Magazine.
Women's Health Magazine.
Excuse me, Women's Health Magazine.
Yes.
Explain that award for us.
Well, they independently look at all the foods on the shelf. I believe it was like 46,000 items are in a grocery store. And they picked 125 items that a woman should eat to be healthy. And our new flavor, tomato basil sun-dried tomatoes, was one of the ones selected because this is a product that's fat-free, sugar-free, no salt added, very convenient. It's dry. So this is a sample. They're pre-seasoned, but you can backpack with these, you can cook with these, they're lightweight. So it's really become a very popular product, and we're the only ones that make the flavored sun-dried tomatoes. So always nice to have a corner on the market.
Boy, those are good. Yeah, so you are the pioneers of the flavored sun-dried tomato.
We really like to have innovative flavors and innovative items. We are the pioneers of this industry in America. And we're the first to take sun-dried tomatoes to mass market, and really now we're found in every produce department in America. So we really did pioneer this industry And it's been a lot of work because we were the ones who had to educate the consumer who might not have eaten Mediterranean food. What do you do with sun-dried tomatoes?
Right.
And so for the last 25 years, this is our 25th anniversary, we put recipe cards on every jar. We have a website with lots of recipes. We do cooking contests, recipe contests. Just keep it going to keep the fun and the flavors and the excitement going.
I'm gonna have to enter in one of those recipe contests.
Well, you might be able to win because I can't see who you are. So, you know,
Okay.
you might win, who knows?
And besides the tomato basil, the other flavors that we're looking at here, with Greek oregano,
Yes.
basil, and garlic.
Yeah, this is brand new. I think it's maybe started being in distribution just 2 months ago. So this is coming. This one I love, zesty pepper. Spicy, it's my replacement for a Dorito chip.
What a good idea.
Yeah, so it kind of keeps me going and keeps me busy so I don't get in trouble. So these are just delicious and you can use them in fish tacos or any kind of Mexican food. And remember, sun-dried tomatoes are packed with lycopene, very powerful antioxidant shown in many studies to reduce ovarian cancer, lung cancer, breast cancer, heart disease, especially coupled with olive oil. So not only is it a superfood, this is an amazing fact. 1 sun-dried tomato is equal to 12 fresh tomatoes of lycopene. I think if more people knew that, they'd be eating a lot more sun-dried tomatoes.
Mary, people expect a lot from Mooney Farms because you have such great products. Tell me about what's new and what's next.
New is our sun-dried tomato bruschetta, which I have put with goat cheese, but it's also great with cream cheese. The flavors together are just amazing. And what we did is we wanted to make something with California fresh basil. So this is actually a fresher product and it stays on top of toast nice and perfect for the holiday season.
What a great idea.
Easy party, easy. If you just have that on your shelf, if someone shows up with crackers, you have a party at all times. You're ready.
Mary.
And isn't that good?
Please, this is so good with the goat cheese.
I know.
Oh, I love this.
I know, it's my favorite.
Great idea.
You know, also my sons at home, they'll fill their paninis with them. And pizza, there's all kinds of uses. And then down the road, you know, really we are surrounded by rice. As you've noticed as you drove around, thousands of acres of rice. And I said, you know, why don't we go ahead and make a risotto? So we made our original sun-dried tomato risotto, but we're now going to look at some ancient grains, some farro and different complex carbs, and see if we can combine some of the complex carbs that are really today's healthy new items with kind of a traditional twist of risotto and see what we can put together there.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so we're thinking.
I can't wait to taste that. When do you expect that to be ready?
I think we'll launch that at Fancy Food in January, so we'll be
Yay.
looking forward to that.
Great. Thank you so much for having us here today. This is such a wonderful facility and I'm glad that I got to taste these products. I've used them in the past and I will continue to use them in the future. And I can't wait to get into the kitchen right now and cook something with these delicious julienne sun-dried tomatoes.
Great.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Welcome back to my kitchen. I'm gonna share with you today a really delicious and versatile dish, and I'm gonna use sun-dried tomatoes from Mooney Farms. And Mooney is a wonderful place. We had a wonderful shoot there. I love Mary Mooney, she's such a doll. And she gave me a little care package to take home of all of her different types of sun-dried tomatoes. Some packed in oil, some chopped, some whole. But today I'm gonna use their dry packed sun-dried tomatoes and I'm gonna combine all 3 flavors. They have a basil flavor, an oregano, and a spicy pepper chili one that I love. So today I'm gonna make a sun-dried tomato and goat cheese pastry. And the first thing we need to do is caramelize some onions. So I need 3 onions for this dish. Before I cut them, I'm just gonna pour some olive oil, about 4 tablespoons or so, into a saute pan and get it starting to heat up a little bit on a medium flame. Okay, slice up these onions. You want medium thin slices if you can. So I like to peel all my onions and then slice them. I don't know why I do that, I just do that. I find it's more efficient. And you can use a white onion. I like to use yellow onions because they tend to be a little bit sweeter. I wouldn't advise using a red onion for this dish because they have a pretty strong flavor. And we really want a nice, sweet, caramelized, mellow caramelized onion. It's gonna go really well with our sun-dried tomatoes and pair well with the melted goat cheese. Give these a nice thin slice here. And then with these ends, I just like to give them a rough chop. Perfect. Put all these onions right in your saute pan here. Okay, give this a nice mix. And then add some kosher salt, a teaspoon and a half or so, and some freshly ground black pepper. And as soon as these start to wilt down a little bit, I'm gonna turn the flame to a low and just let it caramelize for about 25 minutes. And it takes a little while, but these are really worth it. I love to have these caramelized onions around in my refrigerator because they're great on salads or on sandwiches, even sort of as a spread, or in this case, on our savory pastry. While the caramelized onions cook down, I'm gonna get started on our pastry. So for this dish, we're gonna use puff pastry. And you can find puff pastry at the supermarkets these days, and you can also make it. All it is a dough with butter that's been folded into it over and over and over again. And for this recipe, I'm just going to use one sheet of the pastry. Usually comes with 2 per box. And you want to open it up right on your sheet tray, or your cookie sheet, and just kind of press the dough together to mend the edges to make sure that it's all one piece. And then you can sort of use your fingers to press it outward just a little bit. I like to remove that factory edge, make it look a little bit more rustic. That looks perfect. Okay, so to this, I'm gonna give my caramelized onions just a quick stir here. Those look great. They're nice and golden brown. They look done. So I'm gonna turn off the flame, put the puff pastry just right in front of you, and I'm gonna prepare my sun-dried tomatoes. So these are Mooney Farms dry packed sun-dried tomatoes. These are the julienne cut, and I'm using all 3 flavors combined. So we have the basil, the oregano, and the chili flavor here, and I'm gonna give them a rough chop. So I'm using about 1.25 cups, 1.5 cups. And I just wanna give these a chop so that you don't get a really big bite of sun-dried tomato, but you get, just small bits throughout every single bite. You wanna use a really sharp chef's knife because sun-dried tomatoes can be sort of difficult to chop if you don't have a sharp knife. This looks great. So I'm gonna put these in a bowl here. Okay, and I'll begin building my pastry. So bring the pastry back onto the board right in front of you. And I'm using goat cheese here as our base. And goat cheese melts really nice, but sort of stays intact. And I'm gonna put a couple dollops of this goat cheese around the edges and all over this puff pastry here. And I'm using just a traditional goat cheese log. It's not been flavored. It's about 4 ounces of goat cheese. And goat cheese is really nice because it has a very tangy but mild flavor. And it works really well with the sun-dried tomatoes because they have a really bright flavor as well. And then what really mellows the dish out is the sweet caramelized onions with the buttery, flaky pastry. And it's really good. I love to make this for entertaining, for guests, for family and friends. And I also really like to make it if I know I'm going on a picnic or have an outdoor outing, because once it's cooled and baked, you can slice it up and carry it in containers really easily. And it's a definite crowd pleaser. Okay, next I'm gonna add the caramelized onions right to the pastry. And again, just little bits throughout, right on top of that goat cheese. These are hot, so just take a little bit at a time. They smell sweet, they look delicious. They have a wonderful color, and they're gonna have an even better flavor. We've all had sweet pastries, and everybody loves a sweet pastry. I don't know a person that doesn't, but savory pastries are delicious and are just a different treat to breakfast or sort of a lunch. You could even make it a meal by serving this with the light salad if you wanted. Okay, that looks great. And then I'm gonna finish it off with some sun-dried tomatoes here that we've chopped up. Sprinkle them everywhere. Okay, so we'll bake this in the oven at 400 degrees for 10 to 12 minutes. It doesn't take long, and we'll slice it up and serve it, and I'll take a little taste. This is gonna be great. So the puff pastry's been in the oven for about 12 to 14 minutes. I'm gonna take a look. Yeah, it looks ready, so I'm gonna take it out now. Looks great. Okay, this looks great. I'm gonna slide it right onto my cutting board. And then I'm gonna just slice it up and arrange it on our platter here. Use a big chef's knife. I'm just gonna cut it in small squares here and then plate it on our platter. Okay, I think some fresh parsley will look really nice on the platter. Just sort of whole leaves like that. One by one, I can just arrange this. For my guests, they're gonna go crazy over this. This looks really delicious. Really simple. I'm sure it would go great with a glass of wine or a beer. And then one for me. I'm gonna take a little bite here. That's so good. It's such a light but flavorful bite. You can taste bits of caramelized onion and the really tangy sun-dried tomatoes with the goat cheese. That's really delicious. Well, there you have it. Another delicious discovery. And I'll see you next time. And the dough is spread throughout the dough. My goodness, the butter is spread throughout the dough evenly. So I'm gonna make a savory sun-dried tomato and goat cheese paste. Wait.
So tell us how big that spatula is.
So to get this off the pan, you'll need an astronomically big spatula, like so.
Okay, take it from a comfortable spot.
This is comfortable.
Delicious Discoveries with Daniella Malfitano is made possible by Angelina Rose Productions with special thanks to Mooney Farms.